Well, it seems less and less likely that anybody will put the brakes on the runaway train hurtling toward a government shutdown, leaving Americans to pay the price. If Congress fails to take action to keep the lights on, nearly 4 million federal employees will go without paychecks until the shutdown is over, even though essential workers will have to remain on the job. Air traffic controllers and TSA workers will also be working without pay, and many may have to call out from work while they try to find other ways to make enough to put food on the table. And perhaps most disturbing, 1.3 million active duty troops across the country and around the world will be forced to work without pay. Now I'm going to bring in Kate Marsh-Lord, a military spouse and also communications director of the Secure Our Families initiative. Kate, thanks for coming on. You say military families are tired of paying the price of congressional dysfunction. Talk to us about that.
Yes, absolutely. The Congress has failed to pass a budget, and that we're now facing this shutdown. And the families that will pay the price are military families. When service member takes an oath, raises their hand, and pledges service to this country, they expect sacrifices. They don't expect to sacrifice a paycheck. There's really no excuse for politicians putting their personal agendas over the well-being and livelihoods of military families.
And you say that nearly 1/4 of military families face food insecurity in recent years. Many are living paycheck to paycheck. What happens to those families if even one paycheck is missed?
That's true, nearly a quarter. And you have to say it multiple times because it is pretty shocking that active duty families are struggling so much to put food on the table and worrying about putting food on the table when they're getting regular paychecks. Missing even a single paycheck could really be devastating to these families.
So what kind of guidance are these families getting from within the military?
Right.
Do you think the messaging is adequate, giving them guidance on next steps?
Unfortunately, I don't. I think there's a lot of confusion within the military community. We are hearing it daily, almost hourly, from folks in our community that, first of all, not even aware that this shutdown is really so close to happening and so likely to happen. And then second, what it means for military families, that at this point, they will not get a paycheck. I think part of that is that it's just sort of so shocking that we don't expect it to be this way. We expect Congress to do their job, to pay service members. And so to this point, there really has not been adequate messaging from military leaders. People are sort of finding the information elsewhere and from outside the military community.
Wow. Also, WIC and SNAP benefits. Those who receive those benefits would be affected by the shutdown. Tell us about the impact of that, because there's many in the military who use those benefits.
That's true. Military families, many, as we mentioned before, nearly a quarter face food insecurity. Families rely on federal services like WIC and SNAP to make ends meet, to get food on the table for families. We know that 1 in 3 military families have less than $3,000 in savings. So missing a single paycheck could really be devastating to families.
The White House has warned that the shutdown could undermine national security, forcing service members around the world to work without pay. What could that do to a service member that is serving on the front lines or in harm's way? Talk to us about that.
This is absolutely already impacting readiness. I heard from one commander who's serving overseas, I have enough to worry about on my plate right now. The last thing I need to worry about is whether my airmen can afford to miss a paycheck. So they are already worried about this and worried about their troops. And not to mention all of the civilians that they work side by side with who might be furloughed. They'll really be missing key members of the team, and it impacts morale. I mean, it's really hard. The jobs that folks do is really, really hard. And as I mentioned, they make enough sacrifices, not getting pay, worried about doing the job adequately, and worried about putting food on the table, how you're going to pay your rent or your mortgage. It's just too much. And it's, as we said before, military families are paying the price for congressional dysfunction.
Right. If you think about it, they're in harm's way. Their families are back here. They want to make sure their families are safe, that they're going to be, that there's going to be money in the bank so that they could provide for the families. You have to think about all of that. What is your message to lawmakers tonight? And where do you put the blame? I'm wondering, do you put it on Congress as a whole? Do you put it on, these Republicans in the conference who are holding out? Where do you put the blame?
I have to say, in the larger picture right now, it is really upsetting and confusing to be a military family. Between the looming shutdown without pay and the Tuberville hold on military promotions in the Senate, there's a lot of instances and a lot of circumstances that are totally avoidable that have been brought about by lawmakers putting their personal agendas above the lives and the livelihood and the well-being of the military. I don't want to name certain particular folks in the House that I blame, but overall, the message that we're receiving is that their service and sacrifice doesn't matter, and it doesn't count as much as scoring political points.
Katie Marsh, thank you for coming on and having this really important conversation. We cover so much of what's going on the Hill and the tactics and so forth, but at the end of the day, and the bottom line is this will impact American families in a very serious way. Thank you for shedding light on that.